Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's The Future BSS webinar series, and today's webinar, Introducing Web 3.0 to Telco BSS. During the webinar, we will have microphones and videos off. Throughout the session, if you have questions, please feel free to enter them if you look at the bottom of your screen and click the Q&A tab, and you can add your questions throughout, and we'll provide answers at the end. And today's webinar is presented by Optiva. Established in 1999 with over 2 decades of experience, Optiva is a leader in powering the telecom industry with cloud-native billing, charging, and revenue management software on both the private and public clouds. Optiva products are delivered globally, and our solutions help telecom service providers maximize digital, 5G, IoT, and emerging market opportunities for business success. And in today's webinar, Introducing Web 3.0 to Telco BSS, we'll explore what is Web 3.0, the industry shift toward Web 3.0 and intersection with telecom, and the future of telecom and the internet. Today's presenter is Chris Sood. Chris has 20 years of experience in telecom, including solution architecture, customer engagement, and product management. He has 3 patents and is exploring blockchain as a technology to solve real-world problems. Chris helps drive the customer experience journey for Optiva's products. Welcome, Chris, and thank you for leading our webinar today.
Thanks, Misan. I welcome everyone for this interesting webinar. This is a very interesting and hot topic. What is Web3 and how Web3 can help telecom industry and BSS as a whole, how can it monetize the Web3 opportunity. So we'll take up this webinar in 4 sections where we'll define what is Web3, where telecom and Web3 intersect, what could be the future of internet with Web3. And to start with, let's start with the poll. This will help us understand the audience and where we understand Web3, where we are in our Web3 journey. And it will help me also to help you explain what is Web3 and how it will be helping telco industry. So we can start with the poll, Misan.
Thank you, Chris. And everyone, the poll will pop up at the bottom of your screen. And if you'll take a moment to read the questions and answer, please. And Chris, here are our results. And we have 60% of people are new to Web 3.0, and 20% have a basic idea, and another 20% say, I'm an expert in Web 3.0 topics.
So let me start with explaining then for the 60% of the audience, what is Web3? So how I have organized the definition of Web3 is I have taken major excerpts from different, I would say, companies, organizations, and how they define Web3. So if you see, everybody has a similar but not same definition of Web3, but there are certain keywords which are very, I would say, specific. One of them is decentralization. The other one is token-based. Blockchain as a technology feature in all definitions of Web3. Identity, ownership, ubiquity, artificial intelligence. So a collection of technologies make Web3. There is no strict definition of Web3 as of now, and it is true that it is still being constructed. And this is a very big opportunity for a lot of people who are entering this space to define the future of Web3 because the definition itself is being built. But more importantly, let's figure out how it is different from Web 2 or Web 1, which will help us understand Web 3 more. So let's see, what is Web 1, or what was Web 1? So 1989, a scientist in CERN, he wanted to share documents with wider audience, and he wanted these documents to be accessible with everybody. This is how the origin or birth of internet happened. It was static pages, no user experience, and it was just a collection of links. You could actually click a link, go to another page, read the information, and that is what the basic internet was. From telecom perspective, you see that was the time when we were actually in the age of 1G, or beginning to do 2G, where only voice calls were happening, and you could not do a mobile data as such. Web 2 is something where we are in today. This was the first time when the users themselves started to engage with the internet. Social media is the best example of Web 2. People can like, share their content, upload a picture. This was not possible with Web 1.0. So this was an interesting way of advancement of internet. Users became very much interested. People started spending time, but I would say the negative part of this was the user, themselves became the product, right? So the networks, the entities, everything was controlled by certain bigger organizations, or they are being controlled by certain bigger organizations, and they are making money out of your interactions. So social media, Twitter, Facebook are best examples that user produces the content. The content is consumed by the other users, but the monetization happens only with the entities. In fact, with the ad revenues and all, you can think about all the content which is being monetized, which is being created by you as a user. So let's now see what Web3 is in context of Web 2 and the definitions we talked about. The definition talked about decentralization, right? So the first aspect of Web 3 is that it needs to be decentralized. With what it means is that unlike certain organizations who control the whole network, this would be decentralized, that everybody can own a piece of internet. That's number one. The second thing is trust, or an interesting definition of trust is being trustless, which means that whatever you create, you can own and you can share with the complete trust that it will not be utilized in a way which you don't want. For example, anything you upload on internet today, maybe your ID, you see a lot of messages saying that you do not upload your IDs and all, because who shares, how they are being shared, it is not controlled by the users. But with Web 3, this control will come back to the user. So a control back to user, and the internet being decentralized. That's the main crux of Web 3. Now, let me try to explain it with a couple of examples of how the difference would be experienced in Web 2 and Web 3 of the same type of application. So Spotify. So Spotify is, we all listen to music. Interestingly, music industry generates around 43 billion of revenue today, and only 5 billion is actually shared with the artists. Rest everything is with the platforms, with the, I would say, middlemen, right? So you can't actually, there's no way today in Web 2 that a user can sell or market their music and actually gain from it directly. A replica, or I would say alternative of Spotify in Web 3 is Audius. This is a very interesting project which actually pays you to listen to the music, which actually pays you to get engaged with the audience, or the artists who are creating the music, and artists can directly interact with their fans. Now, think about this: 43 billion versus 5 billion. The rest of money is available now with platforms like Audius, which can be shared between the artist and the user directly. So that's one aspect or one example of which I can share, where Web 2 and Web 3, same application works differently, and the user gets more control. The second example I would like to take is Ford Foundation. So, or general, any Web 2 donations, right? So you put your donations to an organization which uses it for charity, philanthropy, and all. But as a user, you don't have a control where the money goes, right? So you can't dictate that, okay, I want this money to go there or that money to go there. And there's not also transparency that whether that money has been spent that way or not. And it's centralized, right? So there are very few agencies who do it. Uh, Alternative to that is Karma Protocol, which is upcoming project. I have personally invested in this project also. What it does is it actually democratizes the philanthropy. Anybody who's doing charity, they can do charity not just by their money, they can do it by their time, and they can decide that whatever they donate, how much portion of that goes to which organization, and it is executed on a blockchain smart contract. Even the founders of Karma or anybody who has control of the blockchain cannot change it, because it is uh, I would say etched in stone while writing the smart contract. I'll cover the smart contract later. So we understood a little bit about Web 2 and Web 3, and how Web 3 is something new, different, and is giving the ownership back to the user. But let's see how industry is shifting or moving towards Web 3. So there were 21K trademark applications filed in 2022, which means people are exploring this technology a lot, filing patents, and there would be new applications coming in. Around 560 projects in last quarter itself, and those projects in 326 different types of industries moved or adopted Web3. Now, this is interesting because companies like Coca-Cola to Gucci are also part of Web3 now. The biggest example I can give is Facebook. 2018, Facebook was even banning all the ads of cryptocurrency, blockchain, Web3. They didn't want their platform to be used to promote Web3. In 2022, they actually changed their company to be Web3 first, and they became Meta. So the industry is moving towards Web3, and not just one industry. In fact, every industry. And the reason is because the internet is moving towards Web3. Uh, how the money is moving towards Web3. So these 36 billion of PE investments went into Web3 in 2022 itself. Now, this is a very interesting opportunity because this gives the first mover advantage. This is somewhere at the beginning of cusp of a change, wherein anybody who adopts Web3 can flourish and will have a first mover advantage. Also, the interesting part is, if whenever you actually try to launch a product or do anything, you do a TAM, SAM, you evaluate the market, and then you come up and say my product will not work because it's a saturated market. The beauty of Web3 is that the market is not saturated as of now. There is a lot of potential, limited resources. So whoever adopts first will have an early and first mover advantage. So what is in for telcos and why telcos should start exploring now? Let's discuss about that. There's a TM Forum survey, Metaverse, which is one part of Web3, which I'll cover under the umbrella of Web3. So this was a poll done by TM Forum, and if you see, a lot of telcos are working towards Web3 strategies, especially Metaverse, and in Metaverse also Industrial Metaverse. So I'll cover what is Industrial Metaverse, but it tells you what telcos are also thinking, what telecom industry is also thinking, and facilitating adoption of Web3 via Metaverse. Few telecom operators who have done very interesting aspects on Metaverse, SK Telecom. In fact, SK Telecom is the leader in Web3 space when it comes to telco and Web3 intersection. I'll cover more in details what they are doing and what are the new things which are, I would say, a little futuristic, but some of things are already happening. Vodafone, Orange, they all have launched their Metaverse centers, experience centers, where they want people to understand and adopt Metaverse. Let's do a second poll because 60% of people said that they are new to Web3. I would also like to understand if the organization they belong to, what are the plans or which stage of their journey in Web3 they are in, whether they are trying to do something in Web3, no plans, or still exploring. So let's go with another poll. Misan, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Chris. And you will see at the bottom of your screen the next poll published. If you'll take a moment to answer, please. And Chris, we have our results. We have 50% of our respondents no. Also, we have no plans in the near future. 50% not yet. However, we're exploring. And 0% that yes, we're already using Web3.
Excellent. So which means there's a lot of opportunity and people are not there in space, which is what the non-saturation of this space I was talking about. So let's see from telecom and Web3, if we are exploring, or even if you don't have plans, where is Web3, where is Web3 and telecom intersection, and how Web3 can benefit telecom. So this would be very interesting for the audience. So I have classified this intersection into 5 umbrellas or 5 verticals. These verticals are not mutually exclusive. They all have intersection in between themselves also. And while we discuss all these topics, I'll also talk about how they are dependent, or it could be independent also. But it's a space wherein telcos have a potential to either play the role which they have been playing since long, or they can go to the other extreme and totally convert themselves from a telco to a fintech company. So the opportunity is open. But let's say, so number one thing where telecom and Web3 interact is connectivity and infrastructure. The second thing is decentralized management. Connectivity is more about 5G, 6G, because anything related to Web3 needs connectivity. Decentralized management is how to manage the whole network, even the care, in a decentralized way. So the core essence of Web3 is decentralization. The core tool to do is this blockchain, and that is where the benefits come from. The third aspect is metaverse, which is the experience and engagement. This is another space in TM Forum survey. We also saw that a lot of people are talking about they are exploring the metaverse engagement. The fourth and very interesting part is the digital trust, because trust is going to be the most valuable currency of future. And if somebody can give and provide trust in a trustless way, they are in the game. So NFTs is one aspect. It's just one aspect of digital trust, but this is where I would say the telcos can pivot and do very interesting stuff. And last, I'll end it up with tokenized community, wherein telco from being a connectivity provider can become a tokenized community and a decentralized network. So I'll cover all these aspects. To assess the impact of this, we have created a framework, and what would be the benefit a telco would get by adopting Web3. One could be operational gains, because definitely Web3 brings decentralization and a lot of new things. The second aspect is the growth with new products, new, I would say, verticals. This is where I think telcos should start to explore, because a lot of money is getting into the space, which we saw in the previous slide. So this would be a new revenue opportunity for them also. And third is enhanced customer experience. So if we are talking about that the internet is itself moving from Web 2 to Web 3, the experience part would move to Web 3, and hence telcos will have to take part in this management of experience in Web 3. Metaverse is one of the aspects of this experience. Let's start with connectivity and infrastructure. So this is bread and butter of telecoms, right? So telco operators have the strongest, I would say, strength in this aspect, and this aspect is the kind of a backbone for launching Web 2 or even Web 3, right? So this is where they can start straight away. It could be as simple as giving the tailored connectivity, or with 5G where we talk about network slicing, this connectivity would be like the oxygen for Web3, right? Especially for metaverse and gaming companies. So in near future, I don't see it happening. It would happen in next couple of years. All the gaming companies will become Web3 companies, and the games would be play to earn games. They'll not be just for fun. People would be earning by playing games. Now, we have all been talking about network slicing in 5G, and interesting aspects are this: a lot of operators are actually losing revenues after 5G because end B2C customer is not paying for a 5G, I would say, network. But think about the gaming industry or gaming consumers. In Call of Duty or Fortnite, people buy digital goods. They would start to play to earn, and when you are earning, you want to have a perfect connectivity, tailored connectivity, and you will start paying for that. That's the new economy with 5G, which can be created, and with Web3, because it will be play to earn. People would want to pay for the, I would say, tailored connectivity. This is in B2C space. Similarly, in B2B space, infrastructure as a service, metaverse as a service, and blockchain as a service. So a lot of companies, startups are adopting Web3, but problem with them is where to start, and they don't have the infrastructure. I would say they have the application part, but not the blockchain part, or say if they want to launch metaverse, the infrastructure part, the connectivity part. Uh, a lot of operators like AT&T and Verizon have started doing is they have started giving blockchain as a service and metaverse as a service. This would be needed by these startups because the amount of data and amount of value they are creating is going to be huge. Just to give an example, since the beginning of internet, and since in last 2 years, so 90% of the data of the world, the complete world, was created in last 2 years itself. That's the exponential rise of data creation which is happening in the world. Now, to handle that the kind of data, and with AR, VR, gaming, metaverse, that data is going to go zettabytes. I don't even know the definition. They'll have to come up with new terms, the amount of data which has to be created. That data with connectivity is an interesting opportunity for telcos to offer to these new companies as blockchain, metaverse, and infrastructure as a service. Now, the third part is, the customer experience. We talk about network slicing. We talk about 5G SA networks. That okay, you slice the network to give a tailored connectivity. But little bit dip into the future, the network slicing will start to happen dynamically. There's a very interesting IEEE paper which talks about blockchain-based QoS and network slice management, which means you tailor your network right from RAN to core to every aspect. You will have different partners. You will have to dynamically allocate and negotiate what part of the network you want to use for that slicing. And to happen it in real time with the SLA management, you need to have very smart automation. Smart contracts, which I'll cover what are smart contracts, would be the key of doing this network slicing in a dynamic environment. So this is bread and butter. This is where I see the first step telcos will take to get into the Web3 space. This is, they are not directly getting into Web3, but supporting and in the adoption of Web3. The second aspect is decentralized management. So this is, I would say, when you take a one step ahead and want to go a little deeper in Web3. So, and we talked about decentralization, which is the core of Web3. So it will start with decentralization of telecom networks. So public sourced radio networks. So anybody who has launched end-to-end networks knows that radio planning and launching takes months. You have, and since 1G to till 4G, we used to have big, huge BSS systems. These are not business support services. These are the antennas which which are used to communicate the cellular networks, right? You needed special spaces to launch and put up those antennas. You have to do a planning that one antenna needs to be next to the other antenna, or what is the distance, a cell management and everything. With 5G, all this is happening in femtocells, nanocells, and all that aspects. Now, a couple of mobile operators have adopted this. Really, and Pollen are few examples wherein they have on blockchain put up for their customers that they can own the radio part of it, and it is on a private blockchain. And the launch of radio networks, which used to take years, will now happen in months, because I, as a user of my telecom operator, can go and buy a piece of equipment, put it in my house, put it in the blockchain, and it will become the part of the operator's network. This is first step towards decentralization of the radio network itself. The second aspect, I would say, this is an interesting case of decentralization, is between the interconnect and roaming settlement. So it's estimated that 8 billion is the amount of money which by 2030 telecom operators will lose in roaming frauds. This is because it is still centralized, it is delayed, you have clearing houses, that's how the CDRs are processed and everything happens. A blockchain based network, which is decentralized, can actually limit these roaming frauds, give you real time data and real time settlements, and curb 8 billion of frauds which is happening. This is itself is a big operational efficiency which telecom operators can bring straight away with adopting Web3 technologies. New growth is decentralization of partner ecosystem. So with 5G, the real economy is when you have a lot of partners. You are offering your partners tailored connectivity, bundling them with your own products or partner products. Now, think about a time when you have thousands of partners. You can't actually go, you have to have automation. And one of the aspect of automation is getting those partners onboarded and settled with a smart contract. So what is smart contracts? So let's touch this. This is the strongest tool of, I would say, Web3 or blockchain. You can code a contract, which could be SLA contract or, negotiation of two things in the blockchain, and then it gets executed and all things get settled by the contract. So it's like kind of a law working in the code, right? Bitcoin, which was the famous aspect of blockchain, did had smart contracts. It was one smart contract which was just to produce those coins and to transfer them. Ethereum, which was the second blockchain and the most famous and most adopted one, brought smart contracts wherein you can actually put up your code and it can get executed, which means say two partners can want to get into an agreement. They would actually write this in smart contract in blockchain. It cannot be tampered, and hence you don't need to trust each other because it's already in the contract and they get executed. So this brings the trust and security and automation in the process, and definitely new revenue sharing models. So you have 10 partners, whether in roaming, interconnect, or maybe in a new revenue stream. You can actually put in smart contract what is the revenue sharing methodology. The moment revenue comes, it gets settled via the smart contract itself. Customer experiences. Now, the moment you get into decentralized management, you need to have a very interesting way of managing the care part of it, SLA management part of it. Again, if you want to do it, if you don't want to do it in a centralized way, it's going to cost a lot and will not give a interesting customer experience either to your partners or to your consumers. You can enrich this customer experience by incentivizing community engagement, which I want to cover in tokenization. So just hold on with me till I reach the tokenization part. The third aspect is engagement experience, the metaverse. So we have heard this term metaverse. So partially we are in metaverse because we are having this webinar, different people, different zones, time zones, different parts of the world, but we are still able to interact. You are able to see me. So it's partially we are in metaverse. So it's hypothetical universe where physical and digital realities combine, and you have the experience of this interaction. To understand metaverse from a movie plot, I would recommend three movies or net series. So one is the Ready Player One, Steven Spielberg, where it talks about a world where everything is being interacted with metaverse. Matrix, or the trilogy, is a partial definition of how metaverse is, where real world and the other world, digital world, is different. And the little bit futuristic is the Netflix Black Mirror series, which also has a lot of aspects of the metaverse. Now, let's go back. So initially, the way any consumer would interact with the telecom operator was via their call centers, right? Even emails was not there. Slowly with web 2, social media took up and the interaction went to social media. So you can raise a complaint via Twitter, Facebook. You can interact with your telecom operator via this. This is going to move to metaverse for sure. And the reason is because the consumers moved from being, calling to their call centers to being on social media and now to metaverse. So this experience management will have to be part of any operator's journey. So this can't they can't actually shy away from this. I also envision a future wherein these interactions will be hyper personalized and based on AI, which means that every consumer can have their own AI based metaverse engagement in the telecom. So if you have a problem, you don't need to call a call center. You can actually reach out to your AI hyper personalized AI bot, which could be a conversational bot, and interact with them. The other aspect of engaging in metaverse is token based loyalty. Again, I want to cover this in tokenization because I'll cover what tokenization. Now, new growth. So every industry, wherever the money is moving, tries to get a pie of that. So by 2030, 936 billion is what is going to be consumer metaverse. So definitely, there is a lot of space where the telco operators can pitch in. The aspect could be either launching their own metaverse platforms. That's what SK Telecom has done, or metaverse as a service, or being part of metaverse via partners. That's the partner ecosystem. The other part is the industrial metaverse. So this is the aspect which we saw in the TM forum surveys. Also, people want to, or operators want to engage. Industrial metaverses wherein you can provide uh, valuable input to different industries with connectivity and connectivity plus solutions. Uh, Healthcare is very good example. Remote healthcare. Think about if you have connectivity in remote areas of the world. You can have a VR goggles headset, and you can actually go and provide first aid or emergency medical services just via one connectivity. And this is partially what we called industrial metaverse. Digital twins, smart factories, all these would require personalized connectivity, or I would say tailored connectivity, and aspects of the metaverse by which they can actually be controlled remotely. So recently, Vodafone showed how a 5G drone can be controlled via MetaQuest. So this is one of the best examples, and I had written a blog where I envisaged that very soon, with public-private partnerships, you will see less policemen on the streets, but more drones on the streets, and these would be controlled by real people sitting at the offices. So that's how the industrial metaverse would work. Customer experience. So now the realities are going to expand. It's going to be AR, VR. So you have to provide connectivity to them. I talked about play to earn games. Now telcos can partner with play to earn games or provide the gamings also. So I know a lot of telcos in Web2 space who are becoming the gaming providers because they see a lot of people getting engaged there. But in future, everything would be play to earn, and they can power this creator economy in the gaming world, wherein people play and create and then can earn. So this requires a little bit of part of tokenization, which I'll cover in my last aspects. The fourth aspect is digital trust. Now, like I said, trust is going to be the most valuable currency of the future world. And this is where telcos can pivot from just being a telco provider to a real Web3 service provider. Uh, I'm sure if you would have if you even heard a little bit about Web3, you would have heard about a lot of crypto scams, how the user experience of Web3 is not that great. It is difficult to understand the wallets and everything. This was experience with me also. 2018, I actually wanted to create an NFT on OpenSea. It took me around 4 or 5 hours to understand how it has to be created, because Web3 currently in its space requires adoption, and secondly requires a better user experience, and third, though it provides trust, you also need a trusted brand to provide it, right? So you have a lot of blockchains, a lot of people who are entering this space, a lot of companies entering this space, but sometimes you don't know where to start with. And with complete decentralization, you don't have a person or a agency or a company to go for. Now, this is where I feel telcos have a very interesting role to play. And if they can pivot and try to provide the Web3 wallet services, they would actually be on a growth spree. What it means is that telco enables custodial wallets. So it's a little technical that what is a custodial or non-custodial. But let me put it in a simple way that when you actually buy a SIM, you get a digital wallet where which you can actually get into the Web3 space. As simple as that. Just to give a comparison, in Web2, when you go to a website, if you have to, log in, get access, you either log in with your Facebook, Google, or email. In Web3, you actually log in with your wallet. Why? Because we talked about how it is giving the user back the control, and every interaction you do with any entity in Web3, you can be part of their earnings also. So there needs to be a wallet where all these earning settlements take place. So SK Telecom has recently done this. They are pioneering this Web3 adoption by providing Web3 wallet services. China Telecom is the second company which, in partnering with Confluence, are actually releasing blockchain-based SIM cards. So this is something very, very new, and but where I would say the beauty of adoption of Web3 lies. The other part is identity as a service. So I envision a future wherein you don't need physical passports. Your identity is secured on a blockchain. It could be a private blockchain, but in a public-private partnership. All governments will put your IDs into blockchain, because blockchain, once you enter something, it is difficult, or I'll not say difficult, it is impossible to tamper with. So identity as a service, my identity currently is lying with in some documents somewhere in government IDs, government files, computers. It will be future put on a blockchain. Now, with telcos getting into this public-private partnership, they can be the identity providers. User can actually trust a telco for their ID. And in fact, every time somebody wants to access your IDs, you can actually monetize it also. It's unlike Web2, wherein everybody has access to your behavioral instincts, right? What you are surfing, what you are doing, and all. In Web3, you can get actually paid for that. And that is how the personalization will also come. I recently wrote an article where I feel there is a $500 billion industry wherein just by tokenizing and creating the number, your MSISD as an NFT, and transferring the ownership back to the user, the operators can make more than 500 billion. The reason being, in a lot of countries, MSISDN is the basic key. You receive your OTPs, your passwords, or everything on MSISDN. But the irony is you don't own that MSISDN. The number is with the inventory of the telco. If they start transferring with the blockchain as NFTs back to the users, they can actually make a lot of money. And it will also give them an opportunity to get into the Web3 space and facilitate more Web3 I would say offerings to the users. Again, new growth opportunities with digital trust is NFT. So a lot of operators are trying. They are hosting their own NFT marketplace, because they, as a corporate responsibility, they would want to promote their local talent. And also a lot of NFT marketplaces is where artists and digital assets are being uploaded by users, hosted by I would say the telcos, and facilitated by them. So that's one of the aspects of it. Customer experience again. So when you are in a trustless engagement, you need to get into the next phase, which is the automation. And this is where I talk about. So think about when you want to create an economy of things, right? So which means that you have uh, IDs, and every aspect, every digital thing, your phone, your laptop, your everything, which is tokenized and interacting with each other, right? So this is what is a future of Web3, right? So you need to have a smart contract based interactions. Vodafone has launched a project called Digital Asset Broker, which does the similar things, which is kind of economy of things where different devices interact with each other, negotiate, whatever the entity they need, and all this is happening automatically and on a blockchain. The fifth and very interesting part of this is tokenization. So all this leads to tokenization, and this is which I just touched upon. So in a future world, every human being, every piece of physical and digital thing will be tokenized. When I say tokenized, it will have a digital ID associated with it. Sorry. That's one aspect of it, that everything is tokenized. The second part of it is in the name tokenization itself, as an appreciation of token. So a lot of projects which were successful is because they actually incentivize community participation. Now, we have seen loyalty programs launched by telcos and other industries, which may or may not. Majorly, they are a failure because they are not in the ecosystem. You can't trust with that loyalty because it's only associated with one particular brand or the other particular brand. But tokenization gives a very interesting aspect to telcos to actually run their operations efficiently and give a very interesting customer experience. I'll give you an example of first. I'll start with customer experience. If operator starts to reward their customers for referrals and engagement, and for every referral, every engagement, they start giving them tokens, and these are tokens on blockchain. So I would not want to call them cryptocurrency as such, but they are kind of a virtual currency, right? So every engagement gives you certain tokens. Now, incentivizing community participation. We talk about Web3, we talk about collaboration, we talk about partners, we talk about 5G, economy of things. When you have so many partners, just think about currently telcos are offloading their call centers to AI chatbots and everything. When they have so many partner offerings with bundles, how would the care happen? How would they support all these offerings? The example of this is this would be actually done by community. So if you have a small settings problem or something which is a very basic thing, you would not even go to operator. You would actually go to their community page, post it. Somebody would help it, which could be another user, and they would actually earn rewards by helping you. The operators will start to offload their I would say operations care to communities, and communities will start to get involved and earn tokens based on that. Every Web3 aspect or every Web3 project has tokenization and loyalty and community participation as their core. And that is where actually success of a Web3 project also comes. Similarly, think about currently if telcos optimize their network, they optimize their offerings and all. How about they start giving you tokens for feedback you provide, right? So feedback, say a shadow area or everything. Currently, it's a complaint, right? It's not a good customer experience. But how about as a help, as a token back to the operator, and operator actually fixes it? It actually helps them solve a problem, and you earn some rewards out of it. So that's on the B2C front. On B2B front, the infra of operator will be tokenized, which means every digital asset, including bandwidth, would be tokenized. So it could be put in the marketplace, and other businesses can actually loan it, share it, lease it, and everything will be settled on a blockchain. And you don't need to get into a very complex B2B complex contract negotiations to do it. That would be the way to grow. The last aspect would be token enabled advertisement. So currently the Web 2 is all about cookies. You go on Web 2, you explore something, cookies track your information, you have a consent, and after that you get the ads. How about you choose what ads you want to see, and you get tokens for viewing the ad also. It's not just you have to skip the ad or something like that. You actually earn, because every time you watch a content and you watch an advertisement, you there's a chance of a sale, and that's where the money is, right? So how about you also getting paid for that? Once this data is available and you actually allow this, you can earn rewards, and there would be better and personalized ads coming to you. This ad placements is a new growth opportunity along with tokenization, which operators can explore. So we started from connectivity, and we came to tokenization. So like I started and said that these are not mutually exclusive, and it is not important that operator says that I want to be part of X only or Y only, one or two only. But wherever they are in the journey or whatever they want to do in the future, what they need to do to reach there. So let's uh, take the first aspect, connectivity provider. So there could be a call like 50% of the users said that we currently don't have plans. But even if you don't have plans, the connectivity for Web3 projects or metaverse low latency is the need of the hour. So you need to do an infrastructure upgrade, which is 5G, edge computing, cloud services, and you need to have a smart BSS to monetize it, right? Because it's not going to be a simple B2C monetization. It will not going to be a simple B2B monetization also. It could be a B2B2X monetization. The other call which operators can take is that I'll get from not just being a connectivity provider, I'll be a technology provider, which means edge computing, AI, blockchain as a service, metaverse as a service, right? It will not happen overnight. There are companies working on it. There are hyperscalers working on it. Amazon, Google, everybody is building their centers. So similarly, telcos will have to take initiative, get upgraded in terms of knowledge on blockchain, metaverse, AI, AR, VR. So that could be the second. This is an initiative if the vision is to become a technology enabler rather than just a connectivity provider. Third aspect is, after technology, can I be experience provider? And this is important because people pay for experiences. People don't pay for connectivity. Rather, I should not say they don't pay. They pay, but they will pay more if they enjoy experiences. At this stage, currently the telecom industry, the way it is structured, I think they need to get into strategic alliances. They have to be partnering with tech startups, tech innovators, get into this kind of offerings, which they can bundle with their connectivity and technology and offer in the market. So you actually become a experience provider rather than just a connectivity provider. The last aspect, which was the tokenization and digital trust, they could actually take a call to become the ecosystem orchestrator. To give you a little factors, there are 5 billion unique telecom users, but there are only currently 1.5 million monthly active users on dApps. dApps are distributed apps in Web3, which means there's a huge gap required for the adoption. This huge gap, telcos could be the orchestrators and get everybody onto Web3. The moment they do it, because of this gap, there's a lot of money here. But then you have to take initiatives. As an organization, you have to think beyond just being a connectivity or a technology provider. You actually become a Web3 first company. You have to get into digital Web3 wallets. You have to get into loyalty tokens, collaborative models, and also start thinking about decentralizing your network, because as telcos, everything is doing is not possible. So this is how I feel the whole Web3 and telecom intersection can work. Having said that, let's look at a scenario of what could be a future in 2050. So this is a hypothetical scenario which I was trying to create. So John gets up in the morning, and he's a telco subscriber. He has his blockchain based SIM, his digital identity stored with the telco blockchain, so he's safe. He receives news digest from two platforms, decentralized platforms, which means it's not biased news. That's the other core of decentralized news, decentralized networks. He gets two ads. He decides to watch these ads. Every ad which is in tokens, which could be a concert ticket or just a simple token. He steps out. He has NFTs in his blockchain-based SIM card, which is secured. The NFT, non-fungible token, is his key to his autonomous car also. There are very interesting projects currently also happening where for Airbnb is trying that instead of giving you a key, they would actually enable a small technology at the door of the hotel, and you can unlock the door with your cell phone via NFT. So the same way you can actually get into your autonomous car, and the moment you select your destination, the autonomous car would actually negotiate the QS dynamically, and it need not to be happening with one operator. It could be multiple operators during with different coverage areas in the city, and you start to drive towards your office. Before entering the office, you enjoy a cup of tea or a cup of coffee in your cafe. You pay by your blockchain-based SIM card itself because you have the wallet there itself. The moment you pay, you receive the loyalty tokens because you are part of that loyalty program. So you get into your office and start collaborating with different I would say different different regions in the world in a decentralized network communication platform. You negotiate the QoS. Everything is happening automatically, I would say. And the very interesting part. This is not part of Web3, but AI is that you would be able to collaborate with different countries, different people with speaking different languages at real time. So this collaboration fetches him a project, and the project they decide the project milestone. Project's milestones and payment terms are entered into a smart contract, and depending on how the project works, the settlement happens again automatically. After office, he has received loyalty tokens. He has got NFTs, which are like a metaverse tickets. He enters into a concert. He again doesn't need to buy a ticket or get into a physical ticket. It is in his digital wallet. He enters, and that's how he actually gets into the Web3 space of NFTs and metaverse. So in the end, this is how you ponder and see that this technology has changed the way you interact, devices interact, and the future of internet also. So that's and all this can be actually orchestrated by a telecom operator. So that's how I envision a life in 2050. Now I envision this life in 2050, but I would also want to say that Web3 is something which appears that it is happening, but is actually very close. A lot of I have been writing on Web3 and blockchain since 2-3 years now. I entered the space 4 years back. A lot of things which I thought would happen in 5 years are actually happening now. So I feel the future is now, and everybody who's looking should enter this space now. Thanks. So this was the webinar about this. This was covered on a higher level on what rather than how, and growth and monetization opportunities for telcos in Web3 space. I would love to take questions, if any.
Thank you, Chris. We do have a few questions, and the first one is more of a request than a question, but they've asked, can you share more info and reading material about Web3, NFT, and Metaverse from a telco perspective?
Okay, from a telco perspective, okay. So we are planning to share a PDF, which is a collection of, I would say, different aspects of Web3. It starts with what is Web3, and it'll have link to blogs which talk about exactly where telco plays a role in metaverse and Web3 as well as 5G. So just hold on. After this mail, we'll be sending that PDF.
Thank you, Chris. And the next question is, as a telco operator, what is the starting point for me to get into Web3 space?
Okay, so this is interesting. So I think telcos need to first get and start to explore where they want to enter. We talked about 5 aspects, and depending on which aspect they want to get into, the journey starts from defining the vision, right? But as a basic, they actually start exploring. They should start exploring private blockchains, because the reason I want to say private blockchains is a lot of Web3 projects are happening on public blockchain, which are permissionless blockchains. But a lot of telecom projects, I would rather say almost all, are happening on private blockchain. So start exploring private blockchains and see where you want to play a role, and understand the smart contracts, and where you can automate small aspects of connectivity, infrastructure, partners, and everything. That's how I think the journey starts. And once you start to understand the aspects of Web3, then you have to define a vision. And the sky is the limit. You can actually get into the complete digital first Web3 company. I hope I answered
And
that.
Chris,
Yep.
yes, thank you. Our next question is 5G has not been able to generate the revenues that telco wanted. Do you think Web3 can?
Okay. Yes. I think yes. And the reason I think is this, that telco companies were always used to be complying with standards of 1G to 2G to 3G to 5G. See, the history of telecom is something that we started to solve a problem of connecting people, right? So 10-20 years back, when people were writing letters to each other and you could just pick up a phone and call each other, that was the beauty of connectivity, which telcos were able to provide. The second thing was mobile connectivity, wherein you can actually get that connectivity on the go or while driving or everything, right? And third aspect was data. You could access internet from everything. After that, connectivity has become more of a commodity after 4G. But what is happening with 5G is that connectivity can be monetized in a different way. I sometimes feel the economy is 5G is little different. You don't monetize the connectivity, you have to monetize the experience 5G provides. Same is with Web3. Web3 is new, and people would want to pay for experience, not for being part of Web3. You can be part of Web3 by just going to the internet. That experience, which I talked about, the wallet, for example, the tokens and trust. This is where I think the money lies. If you can provide experience, and that's true for 5G also, people would want to pay for that experience and not just for the, I would say, connectivity. So yes, I think Web3 would be able to get the revenues. The second reason is it is not the standard stream which telcos use, right? So just providing a basic infrastructure. Web3 is also about new growth opportunities. Telcos can become fintechs. They lost this opportunity to a lot of payment providers, but this is the opportunity in Web3 space. They can regain and become a fintech provider. And hence, I feel there's a lot of money, revenue, which is lying for telcos in Web3.
Thank you, Chris. And we are about out of time. So our last question is, what advantage does telco companies have in Web3 space when compared to tech giants like Google, IBM, Meta, Apple, etc.?
Yes, telco companies. So first, I'll take an example of gaming, right? So a lot of time for gaming, I talked about Call of Duty or AR-based gaming, where you have the base as connectivity, right? So, and gamings are play to earn. In Call of Duty, if you are not able to kill a person, you are dead, right? In matter of seconds. This requires mobile connectivity, high speed connectivity, and everything. And when you are earning this thing from this gaming, you would actually pay for that connectivity. So this is just example of gaming industry. This cannot be provided by IBM and all, because they are not connectivity provider, they are infrastructure providers. In terms of, yes, if I say blockchain as a service and all, they have to compete with likes of IBM and everybody. But that's where I see them to actually raise their bar and say, I'm actually competing with hyperscalers and all. But the biggest advantage is mobility and connectivity, which they can provide along with the experience. That's the edge that telcos have.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you everyone for joining us. And just a reminder, as Chris said, we will send a PDF out with additional resources and information on this topic. Additionally, a recording of this webinar will be available within 24 hours, and you can look for that on optiva.com. At the top navigation, it'll be under resources and videos and webinars. We thank you again.
Thanks, everybody.